Hey there YouTube, I'm Bubbins, and last time I did a video like this, I explained how to make 2 million gil by capitalizing on people being lazy. Today, I'm going to explain how to make your own million gil by recycling people's trash. Now you may find yourself asking, 2 gil making videos in a row, really Bubbins? Well, A, I've been gathering data for this one for a while now, and I really want my retainer back. And B, listen, I just really like numbers and economies and learning cool stuff like this. Okay, we're going to get back to normal videos. I've just had this one in the works for a while, and I want to get it done. Now, there aren't a ton of requirements for this method. You just need a single level 30 Disciple of the Hand to unlock Desynthesis, and you'll also need some cash to spend. But all that will really do is limit how quickly you can increase your profits. You see, what we're going to do is go to the market board and buy all of the junk that the world's many retainers bring back. How many times have yours returned with various housing walls or roofs, and you don't even have a house? You probably just plop it on the market board for like 1,000, maybe 2,000 gil, just to get rid of it. But what if I told you they're worth much more than that? Housing is interesting in that these walls and roofs are supposed to be expensive to craft and valuable, and therefore they desynthesize into a decent number of materials. But mansions are extremely rare. There's not a ton of demand for this stuff. The people who do own mansions are buying the really expensive, good-looking walls, not the stuff that retainers come back with. And therefore, they're very cheap on the marketplace, and you can break them down into things like cobalt joint plates, nuggets, ingots, rivets, and all sorts of items that are worth far more than the 1,000 to 5,000 gil that these things cost on the market. Now, I don't normally earn money this way because while the returns aren't bad, it does rely on having an economy where these are really cheap, and sometimes you aren't the only one doing this. Oftentimes I go look at the sales and it's all one person doing the exact same I'm doing, buying all of them that are cheaper than a few thousand gil. You can server hop obviously to earn a pretty penny if you don't mind spending a ton of time and money doing this, but generally I prefer sticking to money making methods that don't rely on me server hopping a bunch and hunting for good deals. It's simply too much active effort when I already have like 50 million gil. But it is a good option for folks just starting out, which is why I want to share it. Over the last month or so, I've purchased roughly 300,000 gil worth of various mansion walls and roofs. Note that them being mansion is important here. The small and medium-sized walls give much worse items when broken down. In total, I spent about 300,000 gil and got 1,126,000 gil worth of items and 172,000 gil worth of demi-materia, which I sold to the Doman Enclave at double the normal value. That's a net profit of nearly 1 million gil alone. If you're curious, this is what the rewards look like from one of my quick mansion trips. There's a lot of stuff here to sell from just, a few tens of thousands of gil. Well, that's great. The real trick is to do this for every item your retainers bring back. Once my retainer brought back a placard that was worth like a single grand. So I broke it down and noticed the items were worth a decent amount. The next step was to go to the market board, purchase all of the cheap ones for about 14,000 gil, and sell them all for 70,000 gil and 7,000 demi-materia for a 63,000 gil profit. And that was just one server. Do it for all the ones in your data center, and if you're really adventurous, hop data centers to get the cheap ones there too. Ultimately, for the other items, it's chump change for high rollers. The mansioned ones are sometimes worth it. But if you're just starting out and are scared of losing cash, these can be a pretty risk-free way of padding your bank. I also had success doing this with various windows too for about 140,000 in profit. The returns vary per item type clearly. The cost of mansion parts was about 25% of my eventual item value, leaving me with 75% profit. That 20 to 40% cost ratio seems to be a sweet spot, though my average was around 50 thanks to various experiments with items like some windows and the Crystarium stove, which actually cost me more than they broke down for. While you can, in theory, increase your profits by continuing to increase your desynthesis rate up to the mark where it gives you an increased chance at better rewards, by no means is that required. Most of the time I did this, I was nowhere near that mark and still saw a ton of profit. And with any of my Gil-making videos, if this is your market, I'm so sorry. But I found it to be a good way for newer players to earn some cash without needing to grind a whole lot, or to really have to understand the economy itself. The easy story here is obviously the mansions, but I do really encourage you all to go out and find some niche markets you can capitalize on. Ultimately, that's how you really get yourself consistent Gil income over long periods of time. If you want a copy of my spreadsheet to use for yourself so you can keep track of your spending, the initial value, and the actual selling price, make sure to subscribe to my Patreon while I'll drop it next week. If you're looking for other Gil-making methods, be sure to check out the aforementioned Gil-making video, which is even more new player friendly as it's how I made my first million Gil. On the other hand, if you're already super into making Gil and want to set yourself up for infinite Gil with no need to rely on the market board, trading, or crafting, go check out last week's FC Submersible video where I talk about what I've been working on for the past 6 to 8 months and how you too can earn 500,000 Gil per day doing nothing. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to leave a like or subscribe. As a small channel, it really does help me out a bunch. And like I said, if you want to directly support the channel, there's a Patreon linked in the description below. For now though, I think that's it. I'll see you next time.